If you think Vikings were just Scandinavian barbarians burning down English monasteries, you've just missed the biggest adventure in human history. Everyone pictures Vikings in fjords and on longships off the coast of Scotland. Their real empire wasn't in the west. These Northmen paddled their dragon boats all the way to ancient Persia, traded in Afghanistan's borderlands, and swapped slaves for silk with Arab caliphs, even guarding elite harems for Persian emirs as mercenaries. It's not just in the sagas. It was buried in a grave in Sweden, a single object that proves the Viking world and the Islamic world were far closer than anyone wants to admit. It's the 9th century. While Europe is crouching in the darkness of the Middle Ages, on the east, Baghdad is glowing, and the Silk Road is pulsing with wealth. Dragon-proud longships are being dragged across the endless steppes of modern-day Russia and Kazakhstan. They aren't slicing through waves, they are grinding over dirt. Nomad horsemen circled them like wolves, but these Vikings, known in the east as the Rus or Varangians, kept pushing south. Their target wasn't a monastery. It was the unimaginable wealth of the opposite caliphate. Even the caliphs themselves were shocked. These men weren't traders in the usual sense. They were pirates with better PR and axes. Historians and textbooks love to tell us about the route from the Varangians to the Greeks, about how Vikings sailed down the Dnieper to sell a bit of amber and honey in Constantinople, a nice, polite exchange between North and South. But that's only the version that fits on a museum plaque. It ignores the other route, the Volga trade route. This path didn't lead to Christian Byzantium. It led straight into the chaotic, lawless heart of the Islamic East. And the Vikings weren't there to sell beeswax. Because here's the part no textbook mentions. The fuel of this economic engine wasn't amber, it was human lives. And this is where the Silk Road gets Nordic and dark. The dirty secret of the Viking expansion wasn't exploration, it was a protection racket on a continental scale, and the primary commodity? The Sakaliba, the Slavs. The Vikings hunted the people of Eastern Europe, chained them, and shipped them down the Volga to the slave markets of the caliphate. The Arabs needed labor and soldiers, the Vikings needed silver. It was a brutal, cynical exchange. The caliphs paid in high-grade silver dirhams. We have found hundreds of thousands of these Arab coins buried in Sweden. Think about that. Billions of dollars in modern currency, pumped into Scandinavia, paid for by human trafficking. But trade is one thing, physical contact is another. For years, scholars doubted the Vikings actually met the people of the Silk Road intimately, until they looked closer at a grave in the Viking city of Birka. In a female grave in Birka, Sweden, archaeologists found a silver ring with a violet glass stone. For a century, it sat in a museum, but recently they used a scanning electron microscope. The inscription on the stone says, Illallah, for Allah. This wasn't a trinket passed down through 10 middlemen. The silver shows almost no wear. It suggests a direct gift. A Viking woman buried in Sweden, wearing a ring dedicated to the god of Islam. This proves the direct link between the fjords and the desert. In 922 AD, the Arab diplomat Ibn Fadlan met these Rus traders on the Volga. He wrote a famous account, and what he saw haunted him. He called them perfect physical specimens, tall as palm trees, but he was horrified by their hygiene. He watched them wash their faces, blow their noses, and spit into the same bowl of water, passing it down the line. But the true horror came when a Viking chieftain died. Ibn Fadlan didn't just witness a funeral, he witnessed a nightmare. He describes a 10-day ritual of intoxication and violence. The Vikings didn't bury their leader alone. They asked his slave girls, who will go with him? One girl volunteered. From that moment, she was treated like a queen, but her fate was sealed. On the final day, the chieftain was laid out on his ship, surrounded by weapons, food, and sacrificed animals. The slave girl was led to the ship. She was given a cup of strong alcohol, singing goodbye to her life. Then she was handed over to an old woman the Vikings called the Angel of Death. Ibn Fadlan watched, trembling, as the men beat their shields with sticks to drown out her screams, while the Angel of Death ended her life. The ship was then torched. As the flames rose, a Viking turned to Ibn Fadlan and laughed. He said, "You Arabs are fools. You take the people you love and bury them in the dirt where the worms eat them. We burn them so they reach Valhalla instantly." Within an hour, the ship, the chieftain, and the girl were nothing but ash on the Volga riverbank. This is the raw, bloody reality of the contact between these two worlds. It wasn't just about coins. It was a clash of civilizations. It was the peak of globalization, 1,000 years before we invented the term. The moment when Scandinavian dragon ships choked the Volga, when Varangians stood guard as mercenaries in the bazaars of Bukhara, and maybe even Baghdad. Some scholars even suggest Vikings traveled as far as the Caspian Sea to fight as heavy infantry for local emirs. People think the Silk Road was a Chinese story, but Viking blood pumped through its northern veins. To manage this massive trade with the Arabs, the Vikings had to settle down. They had to build cities to store the slaves and the silver. Kiev, Novgorod, the roots of the state known as Kievan Rus, the ancestor of modern Russia and Ukraine, lie in this trade. It was a corporation turned into a kingdom. Your history textbook erased Scandinavia from Asia's greatest highway. But without that Viking hunger for Arab silver, the map of Eastern Europe would look completely different today. History isn't just about nations and borders. It's about audacious adventurers hijacking trade routes. Vikings didn't discover America. They conquered the economy of Asia first. Every saga teaches the same lesson. Boldness writes the maps. Cowards just read them. The Vikings wrote theirs in Arabic script on Swedish rings. Was the Viking slave trade just business, or was it evil? What's your take? And if you think Viking caliphate deals were insane, wait until you see what happened when the Mongols arrived to collect their tax. But that's a story for the next saga. Click here to subscribe so you don't miss it.